Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Welcome to everybody around the country and around the world. We are the FITT Show here every Thursday at 8 p.m. and on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Had a great show last week. Got into the minutia, some little bit of cryptocurrency. Some people thought, but really we just give them the basics. But it was a good understanding of cryptocurrency for the people who may be interested. Like we always say when we talk about investments, don't invest in something that you don't know. So you need to know. Go out there and learn about it. Dote, how's everything going there with you, sir?
I'm down in Florida. Went to see the Orlando Magic and Cavaliers play and having a good time.
Oh, wow. Oh, how was that game?
Real good. Well, Cavaliers won big, so I was able to relax.
Okay, yeah, that's your team. Well, this
Exactly.
week we got an interesting topic. We're going to talk about the keys to a stronger financial future. There's a lot of elements that could go in there, but we're just going to talk about a few specific ones that we consider ones that you should consider. So we hope you tune in, and like always, please click on the like button and on the heart, and make sure you share this on YouTube and you subscribe subscribe on YouTube and share on Facebook Live. So with that, dope, let's get into our top of the show topic, which everybody loves to know about, is the stock market update.
Yeah, this has been a pretty good week for most of the market. It's kind of a lot of earnings are being announced now, so you're getting a lot of ups and downs. The economy is still rolling strong. Which is really a shock that it really didn't get into that recession that people were so worried about. And things have just been going pretty good. As you can see, for the past week, the Dow was up almost 2%, 581 points. NASDAQ's up 3%. It's really been rolling. Microsoft closed at an all-time high. It's now a $3 trillion business. Microsoft's up over 11 points over last year. And as we've been talking about, as it's gone up, it's all because of AI and expectations that AI is going to carry it forward. Now, the big downer for the week was Tesla. Tesla took a big hit because they missed their earning target. I think they were expecting 73 cents a share. They came in at 71. Not only that, but their guidance on the rest of the year was extremely negative. So this is one to watch. I think I'm actually going to buy a little bit more of Tesla just because there's usually an overreaction when things are going bad. I still think it's a good company. I mean, if I'm about break even now of what I paid for it and where it's at now, but I still think it's a good company. I think once it gets through this, interest rates get a little better, the EV market gets a little stronger as far as more charging stations, better range. People get more comfort with it. I think they're going to do quite well. Apple is also doing real well. It kind of had a little slump there, but people are back on the bandwagon. It closed at 194. Pfizer still kind of just waffling around 27, 28. And NVIDIA continues to roll. It's up 45%, almost 45 points, almost 8% over last year. And this one's just continues to go up. Bob and I had a couple conversations because I'm wondering if I should sell. And Bob's advice is always to cover what you put into it, and all the rest is gravy. But the thing, and the thing you should think about, the things I think about, when I sell, I didn't really have a price target, but if I did so, I'd have to wonder what would I do next, and if I think there's another company out there that I would want to invest in, and I don't have that in mind, so I'm going to let NVIDIA ride. I think I told you I got in at $17,000, and now it's worth up over 60,000. So I've done okay on that, and I'm going to let it roll, and see where it ends up. So all in all, things are going quite well, but I was a little worried when I saw that the GDP was up to like 3% because I was thinking the Fed may come back and lower rates. A lot of the positives you're hearing are based on the fact that the Fed may cut rates. And so that could change and the market could actually head down. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But pretty good week on the market, except for Tesla.
I just want to remind people after the Obama administration into the Trump administration, the Dow was at its high at 36,000, and it's definitely over that. And the NASDAQ was at 16,000, so it's almost back to what it was when things were doing pretty well. Let's get into the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is down. The total market cap is down 80 billion to 1.6 trillion. The Bitcoin has lost about $1,281 compared to last week. Bitcoin is now at $39,904, down 3%. Smart contracts, Ethereum, are down by 10%. They took a big hit. Don't know what's going on there. And Solana, which we started, the number 5 cryptocurrency we started tracking, was really rolling. Every week it was going up by a substantial amount, 10%, 15%. But lately, something has stalled and it's down 7%. It's now at $87, down 47. No, that's not right. That's down actually 7. Let me correct that. That's supposed to be a dollar sign. It's down, excuse me, by $7. And the Elon Musk, Mark Cuban pushed Dogecoin. It still is not doing enough, and that's at 0.08 cent. At one time, it was up over $1. So there you have it for the cryptocurrency. Now we want to get into our topic of the day, which is, the keys to a strong financial plan. So, what's your feeling on that, though?
Well, and before we start, it's a topic that gets into the psychology of investing and how you think and how you develop your whole thought processes when it comes to investing. And this is, again, something that I shouldn't say something that people who don't have money or didn't grow up with money have to learn about. And so as we talk about this, we're going to talk about, assessing your plan, looking at where you are, understanding what the probabilities are of reaching a goal, and understanding that just the way to think through it. And Bob and I've had this conversation many times when people want to talk to you about finances or the stock market, everybody always wants an easy answer. They want it to be, give me a stock tip or go buy this or go buy that. But it's not that simple. And this is kind of a backdrop for the way you should think about investing and your overall plan. So bear with us, think through it, and understand that having money, making your money work for you, is work. It's you have to have a plan. You have to think it through. You have to follow up. You have to educate yourself. Bob mentioned that when he was talking about cryptocurrency. You shouldn't even think about buying cryptocurrency if you don't understand it. You shouldn't think about investing in anything you don't know about. So you've got to educate yourself, which is, again, different. It's a step you didn't take when you didn't have money because you had nothing to worry about, even though even then you should have been learning about it. But the key is to learn about it. And so what we're going to talk about now is just the probabilities and how you develop your plan and keep your plan in place. And again, when you think about you setting up your plan and you can't be right. You can't be 100% right. You can't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. I don't care how good your plan is because there's no way you can know everything that's going to come up. So sometimes you have to pivot and change and readjust or recalibrate and understand that things didn't go like you planned, and so you have to change your plan. And so when you think about probabilities, most people don't understand that. I had trouble understanding that when I had to take statistics, but eventually I got it. But you have to put these probabilities in your plan because, again, nothing's going to be 100%. And so people put these plans, they get probabilities, and sometimes the plan's going to fall apart because stuff happens, life happens, okay? And that means it's going to happen to everybody. Nobody's plan is going to work perfectly their entire life because a million things can go wrong. So when they do, you don't need to panic. You just need to account and readjust and rethink how you do things.
Now, it's not that planning is pointless. Let's get that first of all straight. It's that you need to treat planning as a process rather than a one-off or one-time event that you set and just forget. We also need strategies for building stronger financial plans that can actually withstand the inevitable bad luck, bad decisions, or even bad assumptions, that happen along the way. Now, you don't have to predict the future to build a better plan. Okay, Doe and I are not trying to be right all the time when we talk. We're just trying to give you information that we know about. But instead, our goal is to give risk in investments and in life the respect it deserves and build strong financial plans that recognize how probability actually works. So, we're going to discuss today how you can do the same.
Okay, and the first thing you got to remember is avoiding the false sense of security and thinking everything's going to be okay when maybe it isn't. And a lot of people have trouble understanding or applying probabilities to real life situations. And the prime example of that was when in 2016 Donald Trump won the election, and everybody was totally shocked. And the posters that said he had a 30% chance of a positive outcome. And so to most people, that meant he couldn't win. But no, that doesn't mean he couldn't win. It's not impossible. It's just not as probable. And so that's when you get to understanding what probabilities mean. So some people equate a lower probability of success to no probability of success, which isn't true. So a 30% chance of something happening is very different than a 0% chance of something happening. So if you want to build a strong plan, you can't rely on assumptions that give you a probability set of success because that can't be the end all because you could still fail. Okay. A lot of times when you get ready to retire, they do these Monte Carlo simulations and they try to look at everything that may happen. They run it to a bunch of scenarios and try to predict which scenario is most likely. They create the bell curve and then apply probabilities to those particular situations. And so you try to account for all the variables that may happen, and then you can see where your probabilities lies. And so try not to look at situations that says you have a 70% likelihood of success and then say, okay, 70%, then I'm all good. No, there's still a 30% chance that things go wrong. In most 70% of the time, you're probably going to be right, but there's still a chance things may not go like you want them to go. And so you have to be aware for that. You have to realize there's a possibility that things may not go as you plan and be ready to adjust if things don't go as you want them to go. There's nothing probable does not mean guaranteed. You got to understand that.
And though the next one you need to consider is your assumptions. You really need to carefully consider the assumptions because a lot of people use all these numbers and assumptions. And don't always say, sometimes we give certain benchmarks or numbers, they're just that. They're just benchmarks, but nothing is like 100%. And you need to choose actions you can stick to with consistency. Okay. Now, plan account for planning can account for the potential for downside risks to show up by avoiding the use of aggressive assumptions. A lot of people use some and you got to watch out because a lot of salespeople on commission, they have these aggressive assumptions to get into annuities and insurance and investments, But I love this paraphrase quote from the CPA author, and he said, "Risk is what shows up after you think you've thought of everything." Meaning, meaning that one thing you forgot to factor into the plan is the thing that is most likely to pop up and throw you for a loop. Now, you can't possibly account for every reality that will come past, though. So, what can you do? You can use reasonable assumptions that aren't predicated on everything going your way. It's not necessarily about planning conservatively either. The way you build a foolproof financial plan is by planning consistently. For example, if you're in your 40s and at the peak of your career and your earning years, you might, expect that your fast growing salary to continue to increase over time. I know a lot of people, expect about 5% increase, 5 to 7% increase every year because that's what, people have seen, over the past few years. But that's not sustainable if you go out to like 5, 15, and 20 more years. If you use that assumption, your income growth slows or drops. Then if your income grows or drops, then your plan might not work. So instead of using aggressive assumption, we could simply assume a smaller growth in income, say such as 2.5% instead of 5% over and 7% over the next 10, 15 years. Now, you don't need to assume a worst case scenario at every turn, but you can't assume the best with every variable either. By moderating what you expect to happen, you can build a plan that works regardless of what happens. Now, here's a quick rundown of some of the assumptions that go into a plan, like your earnings and how long you expect to work or make a certain salary, living expenses now and in retirement, investment returns and your investing time horizon. Me and Dote always talk about that. What is your plan? What is the time that you plan to do it? And you always need to factor in inflation because inflation affects, your salary and cost of goods and your lifestyle. Then the fifth one is the specific goals and their costs and timelines, right? Now, depending on the variable, you might want to underestimate what you expect, as with income and investment returns. Or you want to do the opposite and overestimate when it comes to expenses and inflation.
Yeah, and the other thing, you have to remember that life happens outside of spreadsheets. And remember, this is coming from a guy who loves spreadsheets and loves to put stuff on paper. That's kind of what I enjoy. And so a financial plan is only as good as the numbers you put into it. And you can put a lot of scenarios on paper and everything can work out fine. And you can get all the numbers that tell you exactly what you want to hear. But spreadsheets don't always capture the context of your everyday life. And that's when you have to use some more thought and put some more thought into it. Because just as when you think about doing a financial plan, planning for retirement, for example, you're planning for retirement for a situation that you don't fully understand because you don't know what your thoughts, how you're going to be at that point of retirement. If you're 40 years old, you're trying to do a plan for when you're 65 or 60 or whenever you plan to retire. And so many things can happen in that time frame that might change how you look or how you want to be when you retire. So a strong plan is going to recognize that friction and aims to try to find a balance between enjoying life today, but also planning responsibly for the future.
Wow, that's good information, though. Now, don't depend on a single factor to get you to success. I know a lot of people roll the dice on that big one, that the big hookup. But along with using reasonable rather than aggressive or overly optimistic assumptions, be careful about how much weight you put on any one factor in your plan. It's just like your investment portfolio. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So you make sure you diversify. Now, these scenarios are common when we see people trying to over rely on single variables. One, continually relying on large bonuses, commissions, on on target earnings, especially those people who salespeople who rely on commissions. Another one is expecting to receive equity compensation consistently over time via refresher grants that aren't actually guaranteed. For people that work for like nonprofits who actually run on grants and things like that. You got to be considering those kind of things and using a projected pension payout 20 years from now. Not even consider what happens with a career change, right? And this is the last one for the people who are into IPOs, meaning no, that was initial public offers. I had a old man lapse there, waiting for initial public offering, which might not happen, and a high share price, which can fluctuate. Now, it might be okay to project these out for a year or two, but like I said earlier, but the further out you go, relying on them years, the next 10, 20 years, is setting a plan up for failure. Now, if you expect bonuses, commissions on target earnings to add 100% to your salary, project 50%. Remember, we talked about assumptions, right? We know all of them not 100%, foolproof too. Now, if you have a pension, project your retirement income with the pension income that you're guaranteed today versus the projected pension income that you would receive should you work another 20 years. That makes a lot of sense, right? And if you expect an initial public offer, don't. A lot of people work for companies that do these, and or looking for companies that have IPOs. Now that is completely out of your control. You cannot build an entire financial plan on an assumption, that your company will have an initial public offering or you profit handsomely if it does.
And this one is a key one, and that's account for change. And plans that have a high likelihood of success always have a natural buffer for life changes because you can guarantee that something's going to happen that you didn't expect. Those changes could be external. It could be something that's out of your control. It could be a recession. Your company might have layoffs or a pandemic it may come, which we just had, or some other natural disaster that shuts down economic growth and it might beat up your investment returns. But other factors could be within your control. You simply change your mind about something and or your career. You decide to go in a different direction. You decide to do something that's going to make less money, or you decide to do something that's going to make more money. Things change. Your personal or family dynamics may change. You may get a divorce. Your wife may decide to work or not work, or your spouse, I should say, may decide to work or may decide to not no longer work. Kids can actually obviously throw a big monkey wrench into your plans if they weren't expected. Kind of went through that, long time ago when my wife and I first started out. We went 7 years without kids, and then not ever having been through that, it was very difficult to estimate the financial impact of kids. And people will warn you about how expensive they are, but they're even more expensive than that. So those are kind of things that happen that are within your control, but it does change everything about how you work. So if you can, you need to try to build some buffers into your plan just to account for the fact that things may change. And so if you set a very aggressive goal, make sure you got some play in there. Some people say they want to retire now. You hear a lot of people talking about retiring at 50. That may or may not change. And there's a lot of things you'll have to do to make that happen. But again, a lot of things that could happen that could make your plans inoperable. So try to account for change, realize things are going to change, and try to keep things within your control. Keep yourself pointed in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, and a lot of people, adjust their plan by pushing their retirement ages out and reducing their current savings rate. Now, they could afford to make that move because when you save much more for many, when you save so much for many years previously and reducing your savings rate, free up cash flow to manage the expenses of having a kid, as well as other priorities that you need to fund, like a college savings. Now, without the proper buffer room, like Dope said in the plan breaks and maybe even fails in a way that doesn't allow for an easy recovery. What we want you to do is to avoid this failure when you plan. For
Hey,
real,
Bob,
yes.
did you have any big changes in your plan? Like for me, in my mind, I I assumed that my wife would always work, and that was just how I kind of look back at how my mother always worked. I figured my wife would always work too. But once you get to four kids, it gets pretty much impossible. So after the third kid, the wife didn't go back to work, and we decided she'd stay at home. And I mean that you talk about a big change when you start losing a bunch of your income, and then you have to kind of readjust. And then the other one was saving for college. In my mind, I kind of figured, Penn State was good enough for me, it's good enough for my kids. I kind of saved to keep to be able to pay for 4 years for Penn State. Well, sometimes your kid takes longer than 4 years to go to school, and sometimes your kids are special when they go to schools that are more expensive than Penn State. And so all those things, both of those were good things, but they were huge changes in how I plan to save. And you can't know they're going to happen. All you can do is best prepare yourself for them to happen by putting some buffer into your plans. Did you have any big things to change as far as how you thought things would
Is
work out?
that a loaded question? Good gracious, though. But one of the ones was, like you said, I had planned for my wife to be working longer, and she actually retired before I did with disability. She retired before I did, so wasn't getting her full income. Was getting income though, but that was a major one. The other one was um, I was expecting our daughter to go to a state school, university or college, and she didn't. So that was a big difference in the amount of tuition. And how about this one? We were expecting to get scholarships because the girl had great grades and merit scholarship, but we didn't know because our pensions were so good that we were penalized for making money. They act like we were wealthy people and stuff. So, and then the last one though, which totally caught me off guard, which led me to retire. I retired at my retirement age, but I actually planned to stay longer. But in 2017, when I had that aortic heart aneurysm procedure, that changed my whole perception of my life. And I retired right at 59 and a half, which I had planned at least go out to about maybe 65, 62, 65. So yes, though, I mean, uh, life events happen, man. And like we said, it's not about trying to be 100% correct, but you gotta really um, have assumptions, but then they got to be reasonable too. And your
Yeah.
planning needs to be consistent. You know what I'm saying?
And,
So go ahead.
and those are most of the things that happened to us were good things. I mean, obviously your heart situation was not, but the result was good. But it ain't like we're talking about we got laid off from our job. We our company got acquired by another company and we got made redundant. So there's a lot of bad things. And we're not trying to get you to thinking negatively, but just to realize that sometimes bad things happen, and try to prepare as best you can to be able to ride those things through.
So dope. For real financial security, everyone, please remember this statement. Do not do what everyone else is doing. That's one thing I can guarantee you for real financial security. Don't be trying to do what the Joneses do, or the Jacksons, or the Johnsons. Now, the point is that change isn't always bad, like what Dope said, but it almost is inevitably happens in some shape or form. A strong financial plan is one that allows for a pivot without forcing you to give up what's most important to you. That's the key to just sound financial planning. So please keep that in mind. And with that, dope. Um,
But
dope. Go
one
ahead.
more point, Bob, and we touched on it at the beginning, and you just kind of hit on it there. You got to do what's best for you. There's so much uncertainty in what, with just you doing what you do. And if you start trying to base it on what somebody else does, they may be doing what all their factors lead them to do, and you may not have those same factors. So you can't base it on what somebody else does. It's got to be you taking the time to figure out what your inflows are, what your outflows are, what your goals are, where you plan to be in X amount of time, what kind of things you're trying to accomplish. And you can only answer those questions, and you can only decide what your plan is going to be. And the thing that's going to make it strong is that it is thought out. It does have everything that you want to accomplish, and it is reasonable in that it's doable. It's goals that you are able to accomplish. So you can't base it on what somebody else is doing, and you got to put the time in to really think it through, and then add some buffer to make sure if it doesn't go exactly like you want it to go, you can still recover and thrive in whatever situation that comes up.
Yeah, dope. And I don't know if who does, but I know some people follow people like Susie Orman or Mad Kramer. And what people don't realize when they be giving advice, it's for certain circumstances. It's not personal advice because they don't know your situation. They just give you some assumptions based on,
Yeah,
some call-in information.
yeah, Bob. It's an average. Are you still there, Bob? I
Yes,
don't see you.
I can see you though.
Hello,
Keep rolling. You there? Keep talking. Can you? You don't see me? Okay, y'all. Dope
Bob. Are
is
you still
having.
there?
Yep, Dope's having problems with his. He don't know that we can see him and hear him. So, and he's down there in Orlando, so he's going to probably click out and come back in.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah,
you just got lost.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
hopefully
when you
Dope
go out.
will. Yeah, there you go. He'll click back in. Yeah. So, a lot of people look at those Susie Orman, Matt Kramer, and they be giving advice, and it's so specific to a personal call-in person. So that's how that actually um, happens. So be careful when you listen. Yeah, Dope. Actually, can you hear us now?
Bob, are you there?
Yep. So Dope's having problems. So let me
Where'd you
continue
go,
on.
man?
Yeah, he's gone. Are you there, Dope? Okay, Dope, we can see him, but let me just call him and let him know we can see him and hear him.
There you are. I lost you. Was I lost too?
No, you were there and we could hear you the whole time.
Hope I didn't say nothing bad, but okay, I'm glad you're back. Where'd you go?
No, we glad you back.
Oh, I wasn't on.
Yeah, you on. We can hear you and see you and everything.
I couldn't see you.
Yeah, but we could see you and hear you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you were saying, you remember what the point that you were making? No, because I know you're old. So anyway, I was talking about. Remember what it was, though? It was about. No, my sister's laughing. Well, I was talking about Susie Orman and Man Kramer, people like
Oh,
that.
yeah, and that's what I was saying. Those are they give answers for the average situation, or for the masses. In no way does it can it even meet your particular goals? And some of the things they say are generic in nature, and you really have to understand what those are. When they talk about reducing debt, I mean that's for everybody. But when they talk about things like paying off your mortgage, that's a personal situation that may work for you and it may not work for you. It all depends, and you really have to understand when the advice they're given is generic and applies under every situation, or when it fits your particular needs. So the thing we keep pushing is that you continue to educate yourself, and then you'll learn, you'll understand when some advice they give fits your situation or is something for the masses. Because again, they're trying to meet a broad spectrum of people. And again, some of the things they say fit all situations, but a lot of the things they say are pretty much unique to certain people in certain situations. And you got to be able to distinguish between those two.
So dope. You can see me and hear me.
I see you and hear you.
Yeah. So with how you're coming off, you're freezing, but we can hear you. But you're freezing or it's slow frame. So keep doing. You just keep doing what you're doing. And everybody, we apologize for the technical difficulty, but that's what happens. We're in two different locations, and we depend on
And I'm in
technology.
and I'm in a hotel.
and and I just want to talk about right quick though, different perspectives. Susie Orman and Rick Adelman, they both at two different ends of the spectrum. Susie Orman says, "Hey, you should pay off your mortgage as soon as you can." Rick Adelman said, "You should get the longest mortgage you can ever have, 99 years, because that's cheap money if you're paying 3%." So that just goes to give you some idea of some of these pundits that be out there, shopping and selling information and trying to get you to buy their package, books and all of that. So be aware of that.
And some of it is just their opinion. And their opinion does not have to be right. It's just like listening to sports analysts. All of them aren't right. They're just giving their opinion. You've got to be knowledgeable enough to discern what things they're saying fit your particular situation. That's why you got to educate yourself, and you can eliminate a lot of the stuff they say and really know or grab out of them what's best for you.
Yes. So with that, let's go to the summary and takeaways and bring it all home. Number one, nothing is 100%, but dying and taxes. But nothing's 100%, y'all. I hope y'all hear what we're saying and understand that. And once you realize that, you can sort of build a plan that, can cover as much as you can.
And the second one is as you set your goals, use SMART goals. And that acronym stands for your goals are specific, your goals are measurable, your goals are achievable, your goals are realistic, is something that you really can accomplish, and your goals are time sensitive. Or in other words, there's a time frame under which you plan to accomplish your goals. So make sure your goals make sense.
And that acronym means a lot, though, because you just take uh, just two of them, you might not get there. They could be achievable if they're not realistic, but they're achievable, but they're not realistic for you. That you're not going to get there. And the same thing, if you have good measurements, but you don't have no time frame, it's not going to align together. And if they're not specific, then how can they be achievable? So
Right.
I love that SMART acronym, man. Always did. So
Next is you.
yes, next one is stick with it. Okay, stick with it. Most people I know, and I when I was doing financial plans, though, I would do a person's financial plan. Get them. They pay for it. Thought I did an excellent, comprehensive job. I see them 3, 5 years later. Hey, how's it going? Oh man, some things came up, man. I had, man, I haven't looked at that plan. No, you gotta stick with it, y'all. And that doesn't mean you don't adjust. But the key, and we always talk about this, even with investing, but the same thing applies to your financial plans. Stick with it.
And finally, uncertainty is certain. You know nothing's going to happen the way you planned it to happen. Try to build some cushion in, as Bob mentioned earlier. Try to, underestimate your income and overestimate your expenses just to build a buffer in, because nothing is going to go 100% as you want it to go. So understand that when you set your goals, that uncertainty is certain.
Yeah, remember that. So that was a lot, as always, though, in the show. We hope you all, if y'all had any questions, please put them in the box there. And Modestine, what's up? Modestine is now in Lexington, South Carolina. And she said, know what is right for you. And this is the other thing I want to say. Do something, but just do it the right way. you know? So with that, I want to give out our shout outs. And as always, um, Rodney L. Madison Sr., the noteexperience.com, my sister Linda, my sister Nolia, how we all doing? Love you, Kinzers. Garnett, as always, out there. So good to see you. My good friend and brother, Carl Chapman. So good that you're with us. And may our good friend Gary Mays rest in peace, who's high school friend and neighborhood friend, just passed away. May rest in peace, Carl. Joanne, so good to see you as always, Miss Skinner. And last but not least, what's up, Mo? Modestine Johnson, now a South Kakalakian. So thank y'all for tuning in. As always, we look forward to seeing you next week. Same channel. Make sure y'all go out and share this with your family and with your friends. And it's so important that we share this information and go out and subscribe on YouTube and get your people to subscribe. Got a lot of good information, y'all. We got some real more good subjects coming up in 2024. So stick with us. All right, y'all. That is us. Thanks again, Rodney. Said thanks. Congrats on publishing your book, Bob. Yeah, thank you very much. Look forward to seeing y'all next week. Stay tuned. And Dope, whatever you do, keep looking marvelous. Later.
Peace, my brother.
Peace, man.